Right, I'm not going to lie. I'm taking that all day long. I'm absolutely taking that all day long. Um, I'll be brutally honest. Going into this game, I was genuinely expecting Spurs to get done. I was thinking it was going to be a kind of a valiant effort on our part, playing some nice football, but it would either maybe not even be like the West Ham game, maybe more like the Barcelona game, where we can either take the lead or kind of keep the draw, but we're going to end up kind of losing to them. Brentford they're a decent side. They are missing Ivan Toney, must be said, but I was thinking this new system, it's going to take a bit of time of getting used to. Been a bit concerned, if I'm brutally honest, about the defence still. I was thinking, Van der Ven, it's a good signing, it's a promising signing anyway, but he's largely unproven. He's largely unproven even in the Bundesliga where we signed him from, let alone in the Premier League. But he was good, he was strong, he was aggressive. We knew that about him. There was maybe some question marks from some of the things I'd heard. Seb Stafford-Bloor had said as much on The Athletic that there's certain question marks over some of his decision making at times. I felt like he was strong today. Destiny Udogie. Obviously I'm going to go through all of the players one by one as is usual in a minute, but standout performance, absolutely standout performance. The back of that defence. Obviously, with Christian Romero going off, we are left asking maybe what could have been, were it not also for that absolutely ridiculous penalty it was given. I don't think I'm just being a bitter Spurs fan when I say that is probably one of the sort of most pitiful penalties I've ever seen given for against us, at least. And it ranks up there in many of these kind of ridiculous VAR-led decisions, because I don't really see what else Sonny could have done differently there. We're talking contact there that probably anywhere else on the pitch wouldn't even constitute a free kick. It would just be play on. And of course, when we slow these things down frame by frame for VAR, yeah, of course it looks like he's taking him out, but he doesn't. Look at the way the player fell. It's ridiculous. I mean, another point of contention for me with regards to VAR is the offside, or potential offside for our first goal. Brilliant whip cross by Maddison, excellent header by Romero, getting on the end of that. And then what? 5 minutes for them to decide whether or not that's actually a goal. That's a legitimate goal. They said, look, I know this is tired ground, isn't it? We've gone over this time and time again about the use of common sense, about the way in which VAR is implemented, about clear and obvious errors. But it just seems like common sense, doesn't it? Why would you... If it takes that long to see whether or not the attacker in this instance has an advantage, they obviously don't have an advantage, do they? It just... doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But we got the goal, so I'm not going to waste too much energy going on about that. That's very promising, though. That is very promising. Brentford are if we go by the end of last season, they've been in fantastic form. I think Sean Walsh, who I had on the preview pod, said they've had a fairly indifferent summer, but it's pre-season friendlies, it's about kind of getting up to match fitness as much as anything. We know that Brentford can be a handful though at home. But there's an interesting... I'll tell you one thing I did find in the pre-match preview. Where is it? Let's have a look. It was... I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, we haven't lost away at Brentford since the... I know this makes for amazing podcast content. but I'm pretty sure it's since the 1940s that we haven't lost to Brentford away. I don't know if I can be asked to find it. I don't know if I can dig this out now. Game was delayed by, I'm not even sure, I don't even understand water supply issues. Let's have a look. Let's see what this is. Kick-off in Brentford's opening Premier League game of the season against Tottenham Hotspur was delayed by 6 minutes because of a water supply issue at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Okay, I guess that means I can't flush toilets and all that type of stuff, right? Well, it's a bit tin pot, innit? It's supposed to be a brand new stadium, that Brentford, and you're delaying it. You're delaying it because whatever. Yeah, look, I don't want to hype this up too much. I don't want to hype up first game of the season, but that's an important performance. It's important to come away from that not losing. It's important to play in the way that we want to. It was Brentford, if anything, who were more of the kind of low block team in this instance. I don't know if, again, I'm not the tactics aficionado, but I don't know if you'd call that technically a low block, but it was at least a very defensive system that they were employing. They were clearly looking to catch us on the break, time and time again. And other than the second goal, we managed to keep them at bay pretty successfully. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see, and I take a lot of heart from seeing Tottenham approach games on the front foot again, actually knocking the ball about, actually, as I was saying after the Barcelona game, creating opportunities for one another, moving into space, fighting for one another, chasing and pressing, harrying the opposition in their own half, around their own box, not giving them any time to think. We did rattle them a few times. And I think we need to have some sort of amnesty for takes on... If Harry Kane was in the team, we would have put one of those away. But there was that opportunity, wasn't there, right at the end? Richarlison, I mean... You can't help but think, can you? You cannot help but think, if Kane was there, would we be talking about 3 points? But I'm just glad that we're not coming away from this saying this type of stuff. Oh, Tottenham played well. We put on a good performance here, but ultimately we lost and whatever. We'll take heart from that. We go again. We knew it was going to be a rocky start under Ange Postecoglu. No, we've gone away to Brentford. We've drawn 2-2. We've played well, and I think there's a lot of positives we can take from that. And that's just where we're at the moment. I think it's... I mean, one of my sort of feelings, and I said this, in the pod I recorded with Phil, Charlotte, and Con, was that I think it's John Cross. Is it John Cross in the Mirror who sort of said? I know he's not often like everybody's favourite kind of for opinions and stuff on Spurs and football in general, but he was sort of saying something to the effect that I've had fears about, that selling Harry Kane, we're suddenly just a bit removed from being in the conversation at the top of the table. That if you've got a player like Harry Kane in the team, if you get a couple of signings right, you're still always going to be quite close to glory, maybe, to potential success. And I know some people will say, well, how's that worked out for us? But when we have had good teams, we have come close to that, with him as the figurehead of the team. And unfortunately, signings haven't worked out the way we hoped they would, and managerial appointments haven't worked out the way we hoped that they would, and slowly we've drifted further from the conversation, despite the fact that Kane managed to maintain his performance levels. And people talk about writing this season off, about Spurs not being part of the conversation. And, whether or not that's a negative way to think, Adam, who I had on the pod the other day, says it's negative, and I do agree to an extent. But what I can say about where we are right now is it's nice to just be back in a place where I'm not really sure what Spurs are right now, and I'm not really sure how good they can be. I'm enjoying Ange's football so far. I'm enjoying seeing the fact that he's already managed to break through, that he's obviously inspired this group of players enough that he's got them embracing a whole new system, a whole new way of playing in just over a month. Maybe let's say a couple of months. And the fact we can tangibly see that already, there's no, okay, well, let's give it 4 or 5 games and we'll start to see Ange's system come through. It's early days. Pretty much from the first time we lined up with him in the dugout, we saw a completely different style of football. And that says to me that a lot of these players have been, they've been desperate to have the shackles removed, if you like. Just to play with a bit of freedom, to play with a bit of character, not to be so rigidly tied to a system that is all about minimising the opportunities for the opposition, that isn't in any way proactively thinking about what we can take into a game. And you see the instant change in that in Postecoglu, and that's something I take a lot of heart from. But that also doesn't mean that we are, by some divine right, going to be successful. It's all well and good to play nice football, but we still have no right to success. And right now, I think after the past few years, it's enough for me, anyway, to just enjoy watching Spurs again, right? And I know people do think that's a bit small time. I know people think that's a bit of a tin pot mentality. But, I just think right now that's okay. And I don't know what Spurs are, and I don't know how good we're going to be. And I do think, after with Kane going, I do think we do need to add a few more players. And I dare say we will. I really hope that we do. I mean, you can never ever, take that kind of thing for granted, can you, with Spurs, or take that thing for a given? Not take it for granted. I don't know, whatever. I mean, me and my idioms. I'm putting the idiot in idiom. Hang on, mate. That's the joke. I get it. But there's promising signs there. And I haven't come away from that game feeling like, we're playing Man United next. How awful. I am concerned about that. We haven't had a good time against Manchester United for the past few years, and everybody will have you believe that they're turning a bit of a corner under Erik ten Hag. That remains to be seen, doesn't it? But let's wait and see. But Tottenham, they play very well today. They play very well. I do think we faded a little bit in the second half. That's to be expected. Obviously, a very high intensity new way of playing. The lads need to get used to that. They, whatever. It's a big blow to lose Harry Kane, right? He's a talisman of the team. There's going to be a period of resettling, and it probably does help that we've got a new manager in and a new style of play. So there's minimal resettling in the respect that we're not having to do it twice. And I kind of am coming round to the idea, whatever helps you cope right now that he's actually out the door, that maybe it was better to let him go this year, and we've got a fresh start now under Ange Postecoglu, clean slate. We do need some new players though. I just think we do. Let's go through the players now though. Anyway, so Vicario. At first, I was livid for the deflected goal because I didn't see the deflection at first. I was thinking, oh my God, how's he not gotten to that? And then I saw the replays, and you saw that it took that unfortunate deflection. So there's nothing more he could have done there. Penalty, penalties, 50-50, isn't it? I don't even think it's 50-50. Anybody who's listening who knows about this type of stuff, I swear, it's more like, isn't it something like 70-30 weighted towards the attacker or something, a penalty? I think so. But Vicario, I don't want to come across as negative, and I don't want to come across as jumping on anybody just yet. Uh, just yet. Give it at least 3 games before I do that. But I don't know. I do have slight concerns about him. He does worry me a bit. I've said it on some of the, after the pre-season games. Sometimes I feel like he's maybe not as confident as you'd like a goalkeeper to be in the Premier League. Not sure his decision making is always that good. There was a hairy moment right towards the end of the game when he came off his line at a kind of dodgy time. He was caught in two minds, caught in no man's land, and took out, I'm not even sure which player it was, took out one of Brentford's players. And there was that, are they going to get a penalty here? And I think there was some debate from the commentary at least about the fact that the ball was going out of play or was out of play as the collision was made. Does that count as a penalty or not? I'm not so sure. So I don't know. He doesn't fill me with confidence at the moment. I'll be honest, and honestly I don't even think I'm being hypercritical. I obviously want to see him come good. I obviously want to see the best of him in a Tottenham shirt. As he showed in the Serie A last year, being one of the most exciting kind of goalkeeping prospects in the league. I don't know. Let's give him some time, mate. But it's an unforgiving position, goalkeeper. It's unfair. It is unfair. They've got such a small kind of window to prove that they're good, and it must take nerves of steel, man. It must take nerves of steel to play as a goalkeeper. I know there's the whole goalies are a mad bunch. There's all that kind of twee sort of narrative about it, isn't there? But I do feel for them. Let's just I mean, Fraser Forster, I'm guessing he's still injured, right? He wasn't even on the bench today. So we'll see. I mean, maybe Ange will decide that Vicario's not good enough and try and spend some of the K money on a new goalie straight away. I doubt that very much, but we'll see. Emerson Royale. It's funny, isn't it? Until he scored his goal, I think quite a few of us were starting to think, oh, what's he doing? He's kind of, maybe he's not it. Maybe there's not enough there in the kind of cut and thrust going forwards. He looks a bit leggy, doesn't maybe look pacey enough to play out wide to keep up with a lot of the speed and the intensity that you find in the Premier League, especially in those sort of wide forward positions now all across the league. There's plenty of examples of players that will love to skin a fullback. But I think for the most part, he was pretty solid. I mean, beautiful goal. Lovely finish on that. We've seen him before, he backs himself to do that type of thing. And sometimes it'll go wide. Sometimes it's a no-look pass that goes, just just ambles off to the side. But other times we're going to see the ball fly into the back of the net like that. And he scored a couple, and I think 2-3 different decent enough goals actually in his time already at Spurs. So it's good. And I can't really think of anybody else that I'd want to be, playing in that position than him. No one miles above him. Jed Spence, we don't really know enough about whether or not Ange Postecoglu even fancies him or not. There's some talk, obviously that he's on the transfer list. Pedro Porro doesn't seem well suited to this system at all. But I dare say we'll see some rotation between the two of those across the season. Christian Romero, I mean, it's hard to really to do too much on him. He went off very early with a head injury. He was absolutely fuming. To be brought off. But it's for the best. We saw the unpleasant scenes, didn't we, a few years ago with Jan Vertonghen, Pochettino when he's not praising Saudi money in football, wasn't exactly showering himself in glory in that moment with Jan Vertonghen. But we don't need to talk about the Chelsea manager now, do we? But it was a fabulous goal. What a header from Christian Romero there. That delivery from Maddison was everything, but I'll save that to talk about him. Christian Romero, though, been given the vice captaincy, so hopefully he will start to maybe just grow up a bit, wise up a bit. You don't want to take too much of it away from him, do you? You don't want to take too much of the fire out of his belly, but just to kind of wise up a bit. Save the theatrics when you're going off the pitch, when the manager takes you off because you got a head injury, throwing his bibs about and storming off down the tunnel and all that. Like, I love him, man. I do love him. Like, I've got to say, like, I love him as a bloke. Like, or at least the side of the bloke that we see in public. Because this is the thing, isn't it? I say I love him as a bloke, and then 2 weeks later he does or says something horrific, and it gets clipped up. Mickey van de Ven, as I was saying, largely unproven talent. There's a lot of physical attributes there that we're led to believe that there is this data-led approach to finding players who are going to best fit Ange Postecoglu's system. He definitely seems like somebody that is going to be kind of perfect for that, right? He's quick, he's strong, he wants to get involved in the game. He doesn't hide from it. He's not looking for somebody else to take responsibility. You can see that straight away. And it's really encouraging to see that about him. The deflection, it's just one of those things that happens. I don't think there's anything he could have done better there. I don't think there's anything he's done wrong there particularly. Personally speaking, I just think it's just one of those unfortunate things that happen sometimes. It was annoying, but he got over it and got into the game pretty well. I like the look of him, man. I do like the look of him. I do still think we need another defender, though. I think we need another one. Destiny Udogie. I do apologise because I know he actually did in all the press junkets. He did one with The Athletic and he pronounced his name. I think it's Udogie, but I will look that up. Apologies because whatever. It's just a bit rude, isn't it? Just a bit rude. He just looks like one of our best players already. I've got to say, 20 years old, I think 20 years old, making his Premier League debut. Bloke looks like a seasoned veteran that's been playing week in, week out for 5 seasons. He looks absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. His reading of the game, his versatility, playing. He looked brilliant in every part of the pitch. That's the thing about it. But his reading of the game, both defensively and offensively, is superb. His technical abilities, the way in which he sticks with his man, doesn't get beaten, looks for space to move into, to give. Him and Basuma were linking up very well. Him and Son were linking up very well at times. Moving into space, creating opportunities for the players around him. He was, like I say, defensively strong. Physically, he's quick. He's strong. He's smart. He's got the lot. He's absolutely got the lot. And the pessimist's take is, great, well, then he's at Manchester City in a couple of seasons' time. Maybe, but it won't be for a long time. And for now, he's Tottenham Hotspur's player and he looks absolutely sensational. And you don't want to hype a young player too much. I get it, you don't want to hype it, but I don't even feel like this is hype. I feel like this is just saying water is wet. This guy is really fucking good, because he is. And I don't think we need to hide away from that. I don't think it's one of these things where we're saying, he's fucking excellent because he's done a couple of decent things in the game, and give him a bit more time, he's going to be even better. And I just think already he looks quality. He looks absolutely class and great. Absolutely great. And it makes me, it's quite sad. I've been somebody that's stuck up for Ryan Sessegnon quite a lot. And I know other people I've sort of dug him out more, but other people have stuck up for Sergio Reguilon quite a lot. And there's been that sort of like desperately clinging onto anything from the pair of them. Well, Sessegnon looks like he might be able to do that quite well, or Reguilon can maraud up the pitch quite well. And suddenly Destiny Udoji's come along and he's just blown them both out of the water. He's just made the pair of them look like mugs. He's made anyone that's stood up for the pair of them look like mugs. He looks like, he looks like prime Danny Rose already. He just does. He looks absolutely quality, absolutely brilliant, just sensational, and it's good. It's such a stroke of luck though, isn't it, that we've got him this year when we've got a manager like Ange Postecoglu in, because he just seems so perfect for it. It's like, for once for Spurs, over the victims, but for once it feels like the stars have actually aligned for Spurs a bit here, and we've gotten a young player in who just is sensational, who fits the system, fits the manager, is just right for a fresh start, for a fresh slate, an absolutely new dimension for us. Brilliant. I'm really excited about what the future holds for him and what the season holds in the immediate future. Oliver Skipp. I don't change my opinion on this. Oliver Skipp is, I think he's a great squad player. I think he's a homegrown, young, good, strong player who every single team in the Premier League needs. Every single squad needs players like Oliver Skipp. Today wasn't a classic performance, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination. I think he worked hard for the team. I think I found his passing somewhat conservative today. Maybe that's under instruction. Maybe that's more his function within the team right now. To be more of a, a shield, somebody that's clearing the ball up, moving it to Bissouma, moving it out to Kulusevski on the wing, releasing it to James Maddison. Maybe that's Skippy's sort of value within this squad. Obviously, we're going to be eagerly awaiting Rodrigo Bentancur's return. We don't know what kind of state he's going to be in when he does return. Pretty serious injury he's suffered. Pape Matar Sarr is somebody else that's going to be battling Oliver Skipp for that position. Player that very much like. I still just wonder. I do wonder if we maybe need, in terms of now, we're talking about Kane, we're talking about the money we've got in. Maybe we need another player to provide a bit of competition in there. If Yves Bissouma gets injured or something like that, you imagine it'll be Højbjerg in there. And with that comes Højbjerg's many pros, but also his limitations. If we move him on, I dare say we would absolutely actually need to bring in a new player. If we don't move him on this summer, I think we probably won't bring anybody else in. But in an ideal world, I would see Spurs bring in another player who is maybe a bit older, a bit more experienced than Skipp and Pape Matar Sarr. James Ward-Prowse is the sort of person that springs to mind for me, but by the sounds of things, Southampton want an extraordinary fee for him. They want like 50, 60 million pounds we're talking, and that to me doesn't represent good value. If you could pick up James Ward-Prowse at 25, 30 mil, fantastic. Yeah, bin off Højbjerg, bring him in, and then we got a good player there who I think would slot in well with Bissouma and with Maddison. But I don't know. This is all just, who knows? It's just one of those things. But Skippy, good performance. but it was good, right? It was good. It wasn't sensational, and maybe it doesn't have to be. Maybe that's kind of Skip's function within the team. But we'll see. Ibasuma, sensational. Our best player. Just that, our best player for me. On the day, I mean by that, and maybe it remains to be seen who is going to be our best player from this point. Sky gave him man of the match. Don't disagree with that whatsoever. I just can't believe Antonio Conte kept this bloke locked away for a year. I can't believe it. Because he's such a brilliant footballer. He's absolutely superb. Absolutely fantastic. It's just he's a presence on the ball. I would say he's firmly press resistant. You know, there were times in there were shades of Dembele about the way in which he was keeping hold of the ball, shielding it, making sure he was the one that came out of 50-50s with the ball and released it to a Tottenham player. He was such a brutal and decent efficiency about everything that he was doing, and it was just a delight to see. It was a joy to see, because I know I dig out Højbjerg quite a bit, but Højbjerg he's a decent enough player, but he's never been great, right? He's never been great, and Bissouma just is. He looks amazing. He looks absolutely amazing. And I'm really excited to see him line up alongside Bentancur. Bissouma, Bentancur, Maddison. That is quite exciting, provided Bentancur comes back. The Bentancur who, we knew previously. But Bissouma, my man of the match for Spurs today as well. Absolutely. I'm not making this a feature. This isn't a new for the 23-24 Ted Trunks man of the match, sponsored by NordVPN. It's not, and I'm gonna be very, very quick to say not sponsored by NordVPN. They're not giving me any sponsorship money, so I shouldn't have even said them. I should have said Castrol GTX or Toilet Duck or something. Something random, because that would be quirky, wouldn't it? Oh, let's say something quirky. Mighty Boosh was 20 years ago, mate. Grow up, granddad. Dejan Kulusevski. Not a classic performance from Decky today. Not a classic performance. Sorry to say. Got a lot of love for Decky. But I don't think his confidence is particularly high at the moment, and it's a shame to see. It's a shame to see under new gaffer, new system, a way of playing that should suit a footballer like him. But who knows, man? Who knows what's going on in somebody's personal life? That's something that I know people are just going to say, "Oh, you're just being woke," or "You're just being a snowflake." But I think if you're not seeing more and more the sort of stuff that, like Dele's interview, that footballers may have things going on right in their own lives, and that has an impact on what they're doing on the pitch. Look, I'm not saying there is this going on with Decky. It may just be that he's just not in great form. Maybe he's not sleeping that well. Maybe he, is a bit homesick or something. Maybe he's starting to just already get a bit bored of playing for Tottenham. Who knows? Who actually knows? I'm just saying there might be more to it going on. But I was surprised he made it through the entire game. I was surprised that Manos Solomon didn't come through, and maybe that's just Ange wanting him to play through this. Maybe Ange has seen the better side of Kulusevski in training or something, and knows that he just needs something to go his way for us to see the best of him again, right? So that could well be what it is. But I just couldn't really tell you what he did at all today. He didn't look particularly dangerous at all. He kept cutting inside and just knocking the ball usually into the Brentford defenders. I don't think he was really ever looking to use the ball particularly cleverly in a way that we've known him to, and where we've seen him use the ball previously. which is a shame to see because we do know there's an absolutely magnificent footballer in there in Kulusevski. But, it's it hasn't gone anywhere, hopefully. We're gonna see the best of him again, aren't we? Please tell me we're gonna see the best of him. I don't know. Let's just wait and see, eh? James Maddison, fantastic footballer, absolutely fantastic. It's great to see him already come in and be a bit of a leader. You can tell he's a big alpha. There's a reason why he's a vice captain immediately. There's probably a reason why somebody like Eric Dyer's unfollowed Tottenham from all his social accounts and all that type of thing. I can feel for somebody like Eric Dyer. I can feel for him to probably see these lads come in, Romero coming after him, be his junior, see Maddison, a brand new signing this summer, to come in and both be vice captains ahead of him. In any other season, you'd imagine Eric Dyer was nailed on to be a vice captain, but that all but signals his place in the team now, doesn't it? It all but shows you really what Ange thinks of him, and that's probably a bitter pill to swallow for him, but is what it is. He doesn't fit the system, and it feels like Eric Dyer needs a clean break from Spurs, really, doesn't it? It feels like it's all gotten quite toxic, the relationship between him, the fans, all of us, the way in which the discourse is around him, which is largely unfair, I think, or at least the way in which it's constructed is unfair, shall we say. It borders into, not even borders, it pretty much fully goes into abusive towards him, and I don't think he deserves that. But look, I'm not here to talk about Eric Dyer right now, at least. James Maddison, he had a great performance. He looked very, very lively in the first half. I do think, in the interest of balance, I do think he faded in the second half. I think he maybe got a bit rattled by the yellow card. I think he was probably playing within himself a little bit. He had the opportunity where if a referee was being a bit more particular, I can imagine if it was a game where it was like a big kind of passionate kind of derby. I know people can say it's not a London derby. Come on, we're two teams that exist within London, but Tottenham Brentford is not a derby. It just isn't. It's like saying Wigan against Liverpool is a derby, or Bolton against Liverpool is a derby. And I'm not saying that as any... Brentford finished above us last year. That was more a talk about their proximity to, making it a derby or not. And it just isn't. It's not. Tottenham Brentford is not a derby. We're two teams that exist within London. And like I say, in a spicier encounter, if there were lots of fouls flying in here, there and everywhere, the crowd are screaming down the referee's back for every single kind of touch of the ball, anybody on a yellow card. Maddison maybe could have seen a red. It would have been soft, but he was already on a yellow. And again, I can't remember which Brentford player it was, but he sort of barged into the back of them, and it could have on another day been a red. So it does just make me wonder if James Maddison was maybe playing within himself a bit in the second half. He could have been, because he did disappear a little bit. But he's clearly a very, very good player. He's class. That delivery, I don't think we've seen that since... Well, we haven't seen that since Eriksen, have we? Really, let's be honest. He was fantastic, and really excited to see how he continues to develop within this team. There was a couple of nice threaded through balls to Richarlison as well, which didn't quite get there. Brighton's defence were quite alert to them, but it's good. It's nice to see him probing, to see him looking to create those opportunities that, and this is going to be said a few times, but dare say if somebody else was on the end of them, we might have scored a few more, but he's not. So come on, we can't keep thinking that way. Or I can't keep thinking that way. I'm not going to project that onto you. But yeah, it's good to have Maddison about the place, and let's see what happens. I think it's going to be a big season for him. It was also, he said, didn't he? He alluded to the fact that he said Tottenham have always had a player like me. They've always had a player like me, and now they've got me here. He said, like, he likes that. He likes knowing that. He likes knowing that he's at the type of club. He was saying wearing that kit, being in that stadium. You know what you're getting with Spurs, and I like that. I like that he speaks. He's a good talker. He's a good talker, Maddison. And there is that. Spooky was talking about it on his pod, saying that, you do hate him when he doesn't play for you. And they were all booing him, weren't they? They were all singing like, I can't even remember what they were singing to him. Something about Maddison. What's the score? I think, I don't know. I can't remember what they were singing some shit to him for no real reason at all. But there is that air of jealousy because you know how good he can be. He's irritating and he's so smug and he's so full of himself. But he's definitely a prime example of when he's yours, you don't care. He's a good player and he's coming into his sort of peak prime years now, and we've got him for what feels like a steal. So let's embrace that one. Sonny today, I saw Sonny getting quite a few pelters on Twitter today. I thought Sonny was okay. I thought Sonny was decent enough. I thought he was running the channel well. I thought he was cutting inside nicely. I thought he kept, basically giving the ball off to James Maddison at a fair amount of times, giving the ball to Yves Bissouma, who was sort of pounding into the box, giving it to Udogie, who was on the overlap. Like, it was, I thought he was doing a lot there. I thought he was operating in a more kind of creative role there, which I like to see from him. I felt he was pretty hard done by to be the player that was taken off the pitch as opposed to Kulusevski. And I did want to give a shout out to Jahi Han. Apologies if my pronunciation wasn't on point there, though, but he's like one of the fans from South Korea who's emailed me previously. And he was saying that he disagreed with me on some of my points about where Son is best utilised, being out on that kind of left-hand side, playing as an orthodox winger, because he was saying that, like, when they watch him for South Korea, he is more of that creative playmaking outlet for the team. And when he does, it's like they say that, like, when he plays for South Korea, they say he does play more of that Kane role. And I did find that quite interesting to see. And then, so when I was looking at what he was doing today, it was interesting to see that he was creating opportunities to other players. He was using his, the fact that he can put the shits up, to be colloquially about it, to put the shits up the opposition team by running at them, creating that space, stretching them, and then he's able to then give the ball off to Bissouma, Udogie, to Maddison. And he was doing that to good effect today, I felt. He had that one opportunity where the ball dropped to him. I thought he was going to bury it, but, such is life. It was a difficult kind of opportunity from a bit of an angle at the far post. Didn't have much time to think about it. Ball kind of dropped to him. It would have been nice to see him score. Yeah, of course it would, Jack. No shit, mate. But he had a good performance today. I thought I was surprised to see him taken off and not Kulusevski, if I'm brutally honest. Richarlison, got to give him time. I want to see him continue to play in this number 9 role for a bit, but he didn't shower himself in glory today, and he definitely made a firm case for Ange to the powers that be at the club that we need another, outlet up there, that kind of top of the system focal point. Because whether it just provides some foil for Richarlison, whether it provides some rotation for him, or, if his form doesn't improve, we're going to need somebody there that can put the ball in the back of the net. I've got every faith in Richarlison, Brazil's number 9. Good player, good hard-working player, good attitude to come good. But sometimes things just don't work out for players at certain clubs, and That could be the case here. We don't know. We can't make excuses for some players and not for others. Everybody was playing under that system with Antonio Conte last year, which stifled the attacking players immensely. Richarlison was barely ever played in this position up top, or even kind of on the left, which he prefers to play on. And that's simply because he had Kane and Son there ahead of him, and now he doesn't, and now it's his chance to step up. He is coming up to, he is trying to get back to full fitness. Ange Postecoglu has already told us this, has alluded to this, so we shouldn't be overly surprised that he isn't 100% fit and firing yet. I've just got to say, there is just that bit of me that feels like we should have just seen a bit more from him today. He should have just given us a bit more reason to feel like, with Kane's absence, we've got a safe option there. We've got nobody's going to replace Harry Kane. We know that. We know nobody is going to be like for like a replacement for him. But we at least want to feel like there's somebody there that's going to be good, of a level that you'd expect somebody to be who is Brazil's number 9. And I think we can honestly say we haven't seen that from Richarlison yet. And we definitely didn't see that from Richarlison today, but that doesn't mean we're not going to see that from Richarlison at all. We just need to be patient. We need to give him time, and that's fine. But unlike the famous song said, we don't, unfortunately, have all the time in the world. Because, God, that was so fucking Partridge, wasn't it? I keep getting called Partridge now, and I know I don't help myself recording the pod walking along the side of the road and all that type of thing. But fuck, I've just got to own that. I've just got to take that one. We don't, as the famous song said, have all the time in the world. Fuck's sake. Dav Sanchez, decent when he came on. There's a few moments when he switches off, he's not paying attention, and we know that. That's nothing new, right, with Dav Sanchez. We know that's what we're going to get from him. But I don't even know if he's going to be a Tottenham player by the end of the transfer window. I mean, that's that. Let's put it down to, he played well today. He made one brilliant recovery tackle. His pace and the timing of the tackle was absolutely superb to stop Brentford on the break. I feel like I've said Brighton maybe a couple of times over the duration of recording this. So if I have, apologies, but whatever, get over it. Even Perisic looked tidy when he came on. Looked promising again, playing in that more attacking, that more advanced role. That's where we're going to see the best of him, isn't it? He wasn't on for long, but I dare say we're going to see a lot more of him this year. Ange spoke about him the other day, just talking about what great nick he's in, what a professional he is, how disappointed he was with his own showings in a Tottenham shirt last year. Feels like people haven't seen the best of him. Great. Let's just hold on. And if you've listened to this last season, you're going to know how much I dug out even Perisic. So, it's big of me. It's big of me to take the climb down and actually say, no, he's good. He's a good player. Look forward to seeing more of him in a Tottenham shirt. Pape Matar, the last of our players to talk about today. Good. I couldn't really tell you what he did. He did massively different to Oliver Skip, if I'm brutally honest, in the time that he was on the pitch. But he's a very good young player. I was actually surprised he didn't start ahead of Skip, to be honest with you. And I dare say we'll see those two rotated throughout the season. But I really like him. I like that Postecoglu is putting faith in him, putting trust in him, and letting him kind of show what he's all about, because he looks like a really special talent. He looks really, really good. For a young player to be performing at that kind of level, coming into a completely new league, completely new country, getting to grips with it all in one season, and already looking like somebody that you don't feel, I don't feel uncomfortable seeing him playing for us. I don't feel uncomfortable about the idea of him starting for us. If somebody said to me he's going to be starting next week against Manchester United, I wouldn't be worried about that. I think he's a really good player, really good talent. Glad to have him about the place. But that's it. First game of the season, 2-2. Good draw away at Brighton. Just joking. Good draw away at Brentford. Let's have it. Let's have it. There's plenty to look forward to there. Big game next week against Manchester United, which, hasn't, like I keep saying, hasn't been a favourable tie for us over the past few years, but we'll see. We're going to have the normal studio pod out tomorrow. Guest still TBC. And if you want to sign up, I have launched a Patreon this year, patreon.com/RTR pod. Got a few different pods going on there now. Got a preview pod that'll drop on Fridays. We've got the Thursday Bulletin pod where it's just a 20-minute kind of going through all the bulletins of the week's news with Phil. Some people may know him as Single Malt Suds, formerly known on Twitter. He's left now. And also every month there's a pod with my friend Jack Gallagher, not a Spurs fan, Juventus fan, Derry City fan, where he offers an outsider's view every single month about where he thinks Spurs are at. He'll either be picking me up from the doldrums of despair or pushing me back down from whatever self-imposed ecstasy I'm in, talking about Tottenham about to be on the verge of winning the league and whoever else, Pape Matar being a generational talent, so on and so forth. But he's a good bloke. He's a football writer by trade, and he's a playwright as well. So he's funny. He's a good lad to talk to. So yeah, you can sign up for that. Patreon.com/RTR pod. Really appreciate everybody who has signed up so far. If you do want to get in touch, tedtrunk@gmail.com. Send me an email, send me any questions, send me any voice recordings, anything like that you want. If you object to anything that I've said, I'll play it on here. It depends. If you're abusive or something, then I'm not going to. But let me know what you're thinking. Get in touch. Like the pod, share it on Reddit, share it on Twitter, share it wherever you want to. Because why not? I am putting these out as videos on YouTube now as well. So if you interact with content in that way, you can go over to YouTube and watch it on there. But whatever. Who knows? Come on, you Spurs.